my fellow comic book collectors, it's Alan the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the hottest comics from the Golden Age for the week. The first book that I always like to include on the list is what I call the Steal of the Week. And this was a really interesting one that I actually was going to bid on, but I missed. I missed the bid on it. It was a Lone Ranger number 79. Now this is from Dell Comics of January, like kind of December, January of 1954 to 55. It's a painted cover. It's a Christmas cover. It's like the Lone Ranger and he's like riding a wagon. It's almost doing like the typical like sleigh, sleigh ride, almost that look to it. But it's, him riding a wagon. He's got a little bit of mistletoe or something with him as well. It's a really kind of classic Christmas cover, and it's just quite nice. It was done by Don Spalding, and it's just a really great one. It's also a file copy. So this was a really cool book, and I thought, hey, that's a really nice book. So this was a Lone Ranger 79, and it was a 9.4 that sold, and it sold for $134. Like, just such a low price for such a high grade from the Golden Age. It was actually a file copy from the Random House archives. So just really cool book. And there's only 7 of these on the census. Okay, so I thought, wow, that's a really great deal. $134. Now the prior record for this book was set back in 2017, and it sold for $382. So this is like 1/3 of that price. It's just, what a great sale. What a great price for this book. And it's sold on Heritage Auctions. So Heritage Auctions, you can get some pretty great great deals if you know what to look for. And this was definitely a great deal. So that's number 10 on our list. Number 9 is Marvel Mystery Comics number 4. Now this is a great book. This is from 1940. It's a Marvel timely book. It is a classic Alex Schomburg cover, because it's the first appearance of the Nazi flag on the cover. And it's also maybe the first Submariner cover. Now there is some debate that maybe Submariner was on that first movie Funnies book. But that's debate. This is recognized as the first true cover appearance of the Submariner. And it's a pretty cool book, and this was a pretty interesting sale. And the reason I say it's an interesting sale was this was for a NG graded comic. Well, what's a NG? Well, it sold for $1,399.99. NG means that it's a non-graded or no grade, because this was a coverless copy. And it was coverless, missing a centerfold, missing the first wrap, and missing page 31. So it's normally that's a 0.5, but once it's missing the cover, it gets a lower grade, which is NG. Now this book actually had previously sold, the same book had just sold last month for $515. So this was like 2.5 times, almost, 2.5 times more than it sold for last month. So it's a big sale, but in a way, it's a bit of a bargain, because a 1.0 sold back in 2021 for $21,600. There was a sale earlier this year where this book had kind of dipped a bit, for $13,800 back in April of this year. So if it's just that cover makes the difference. If you have the cover, it's a pretty valuable book. But because so much is relevant to the cover for this book, it's a fairly affordable book. Like, as I said, it sold for $500 just this year, and now it's selling for $1,400. The cover is everything because it's the first cover appearance of Submariner. It's the first Nazi flag cover. So everything is related to the cover, and that's why this book really is very fractional value for such a low grade. Just an interesting book. I think the person that bid on it, it was an eBay sale, and there was only one bid. I think the person didn't do the research. He got kind of that feeling of that maybe it was a good deal because a 0.5 had sold for $7,000, and if you see it, it's like only $1,400, and it's like basically a 0.5. Well, that cover makes a huge difference in the price. So this was a big sale because of that. So it's interesting. So do your research before buying, especially if you're going to buy a really low grade like this one. Okay, so there are 58 of those on the census, and 32 of them are universal blue labels. Okay, next one on the list is number 8, and it's Superman number 52. Superman number 52 is from June of 1948. It is a DC Comics Wayne Boring cover, and it features an appearance of the prankster. Now I think the cover on this one is okay. You got Superman flying. It's kind of cool, and little boy, hobo looking boy. I don't know what he is, but this was an interesting sale again. This was a 0.5 that sold, and it sold for $117. Now, what was wrong with this book was it was missing the back cover. So it was complete except for the missing back cover. So the previous one was like missing the full cover. Well, this one's missing the back cover. And it was actually an interesting sale because there was a record for 0.5 that had sold. It was a different kind of 0.5. And it sold back in January of this year for $172. Now, there was a sale in February of this year for $71.36. So this is kind of like, it was higher at the beginning of the year, then went down, now it's come back up again. It's all over the place. And I think part of the reason is the different types of 0.5s. Often if it's missing an interior page, non-story might be worth less or more, depending if it's missing that story page or not story page. If it's missing a back cover, that can, be considered a bigger loss than an interior page because it shows when in the slab. So there's all these factors on these low grades that really can impact on the price. And it's just, I just thought it was an interesting sale because it had gone up, it was up and down and now back up again. So there are 72 of these on the census, and 69 of them are universal blue labels. The next one, number 7 on the list, is Punch Comics number 13. This is from Chesler Comics, and it's from 1945. It features Paul Gattoso. I mispronounced that name. I can tell you right now. It's his art, though. It's a really great book. Actually, I have this one in my collection. It's a graveyard cover, and on the tombstone, this is really cool, are all the Chesler artists. It's just like a list of their artists' names on the tombstone, which is kind of fun. It's a great skeleton cover. It's a Good Girl art cover as well. So just a lot of fun things going for this book. This was a 5.0 that sold for $2,400. And the previous record for this was set back last year in December for $1,625. So it's up a little bit from, $1,800 last year. So it went from, and that was, I read the wrong line. Oh man, it was November of 2021, and it sold for $1,800. So it's, it's gone up about 50%. Yeah, roughly 50%, like, 40, 50%. So it went from 1,800, now it's at 2,400. There are 27 universal blue labels on the census, and that's it. There's no restored ones. So that's Punch Comics number 13. A really great book. Highly recommend it. It's a great book. And that was a great sale for it. So 5.0 for 2,400. Number 6 on the list is Adventures into the Unknown number 1. It is from October of 1948. It's an ACG, American Comics Group, I believe. This is it's a bit of a key book because it's Gardiner art, and it's an adaptation of The Castle of Otranto, and by Horace Walpole. So just kind of a key horror book, and it's Edward Mortiz art, cover and art. So some kind of cool elements to it for pre-code horror, and it is Adventures into the Unknown number 1. So it is that first issue in the series. This was a 1.8 that sold, and it sold for $1,999. The previous record for this book, and I kind of gave it away in the previous one, was back in December of last year for $1,625. So it's up from that previous record by about 30-40%, and it is just a strong sale for a pre-code horror book. So 1.8, and it sold for $1,999. There are 59 of these in Universal in any grade, and 56 of those are Universal Blue Labels. So it's a great book. I thought it was an interesting one, so I put it on the list. Number 5 on the list was another Marvel Mystery Comics. This one is a number 57, and this is from July of 1944. It's another Alex Schomburg cover. It just has everything going for it. It's got bondage. It's got these decapitated heads that you got to really look at this book. There's like decapitated heads in the background. There's a girl in bondage. It's like she's gonna be probably killed in a horrible way. There's like guys getting shot on the cover. It has a lot of these great elements, and Schomburg at that time was putting in so many details, and it was just a really, really awesome cover. So this is, classic Alex Schomburg. Now this was a 2.0 that sold, and it sold for $1,200. Now there is no previous record for this book. This is the newest record because this is the first time this grade has come up for sale. But just to give you a sense of how much this book, has really, how this has really set a record, there was a 1.5 that sold back in 2013 for $227, and there was a 3.5 that sold in 2022 for $1,560. So this book has really gone up over the years, and this is a fairly strong sale, just to solidify that it is definitely a book that people want and they're willing to pay up for it. So $1,200 for 2.0 for Marvel Mystery Comics number 57. There are 64 of these on the census, and 52 of them are Universal Blue Labels. Definitely a book I'd love to own. This is a great book. Number 4 on the list is a really long title. This is a really crazy title, but it is EC Crime Comics Illustrated Art Suspense Comic number 1. It's just a really long title, but that's the title. This came out in December of 1955. So just after the Comic Code Authority came into play, but it was not a coded book. It didn't have the Comic Code on it, and it does feature a woman, like, kind of a little bit scantily clad, lying in a pool of blood on the cover. So very pre-code elements to it. The caption on it reads, "Pictofiction, a new form of adult entertainment." So they're really trying to signify with this book that it was targeted towards adults, not children, which is interesting. So they wanted to make it was almost like EC was trying to maintain itself, that old horror pre-code elements where it's extreme horror, but at the same time appease the comic code by saying, hey, this is really directed towards adults. So it's a Joe Orlando cover, and it was actually labeled as 25 cents, which is a lot of money for the time, because most comics at the time were 10 cents. So this is 2.5 times the the regular comics at the time. So just a really interesting book. This was a 6.5 that sold, and I was bidding on this one. I tried to win this one. I did not win. It sold for $461.10. The prior record to this book, there is none. This was a one-off kind of sale, but there was a 5.5 that sold in 2013 for $125. And there was a 5.0 that had sold in 2022 for $205. So when I was looking at this book in terms of my bidding on it, I was willing to bid up to $350. I thought, $350 would be reasonably fair price for this book. But this sale was much above, another $110 above what I thought would have been a fair price. So a very strong sale for this book. There are 35 universal blue labels on the census for this book. So it's a really interesting book. That desperation to try to keep those horror elements for EC Comics. Soon after this book, EC gave up on comics almost altogether and moved into just producing Mad Magazine. And so this is kind of an interesting book for that reason as well. So number 3 on the list is Planet Comics number 48. Now on Friday I did my Friday comic cover challenge, and I was showing robot covers. Well, this is a robot cover that is a classic robot cover. This is from May of 1947. It is a Joe Doolin cover, and it's just a great robot cover. It is an awesome robot cover. It is one that I've been trying to get. Actually, I have it in my shopping cart on my comic shop right now, so don't buy that one. So it's just a great cover, classic robot cover. This was a 5.5 that sold, and it sold for $695. So a very strong sale for this book. The previous record was set back in 2021 for $425. So this is up like 50% from that prior record, almost 60%. There are 128 of these on the census, and 123 of them are universal blue labels. So just a fairly common book. When I saw this sale, I was like a little bit surprised, because I know that the 5.5s usually go for around that $400 to $500 range. So I was surprised that it had sold for almost $700. So it was a very, very strong sale. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised. So that's why it's on the list. And it's a great cover, and it's kind of relevant to the comic challenge that I just did. Okay, next, number 2 on the list is Wonder Woman number 4. This is an early Wonder Woman book, number 4, obviously. It's from April of 1943. The cover is done by Harry G. Peter. And there's nothing particularly key about this book except for the fact that it is an early Wonder Woman. Now, this was a 7.5 that sold, and it sold for $3,300. So it's a very high grade, 7.5. That's a really high grade. But this was definitely a very strong sale for this book. The prior record to this sale was set back in 2018 for $2,750. Now, this book had actually waned a bit. It kind of dipped because it sold in 2019 for $1,827. So this is up like $1,500 from the previous sale, almost double the previous sale. So just a really strong sale. It shows that the faith in Wonder Woman has returned. There was a bit of a dip around the Wonder Woman movie. And the reason for that was a couple things. One was collectors were like before, like in 2018, people were really getting into Wonder Woman because there was that expectation of the movie coming out, but it was delayed due to COVID situation, and it was released during COVID. It just had a very poor release and actually had poor reception and got poor reviews. So it just had so many bad things going for it. Now both sales were prior to that, but the impact of the release date, I believe, kind of did impact the value of the book. So this is the first one where, the movie's been done, it's years later now. And I think Wonder Woman books actually have been kind of becoming popular again. So it's a good sign. There are 51 of these on the census, and 43 of them are Universal Blue Labels. So just a really strong sale, 7.5 for $3,300. A new record for this book. Number one on the list is one that I would have loved. I actually bid on this book. I didn't get close to winning. It went within the last 30 seconds. This book that I'm about to show you went crazy, and I'll tell you why. So this was Triumph Adventure Comics #1. Now this is from Hillborough Studios from 1941, and this is a major grail. You have your grails in the U.S. like Action Comics 1 or maybe Detective 27. Well, this book is a grail for Canada. This is a Canadian white, and it is the very first appearance and origin of Nirvana of the Northern Lights. Now, she is one of the first Canadian superheroes, and she's considered, we even created stamps with her on it because she's kind of like a bit of Canadiana, and it's just a classic character for Canada. And this book is insanely rare, insanely rare. There are no photos of the cover. You cannot find what the cover looks like. Nobody knows what it looks like. Well, maybe somebody knows what it looks like, but I couldn't find a cover copy, what the cover looks like. This was a NG copy as well. We've discussed NG before, which is no grade. And it sold for $3,509. This is the only one that's on the census. So it's one of one on the census. It's the highest grade on the census, and it's a non-graded copy, and it's the highest graded. It's crazy. And it's only recorded sale. So there is no way to judge how much this book would go for because it has never sold before. And the fact that the highest graded copy is a coverless copy is just really crazy to me. It is not only coverless, but the staples have been removed. So probably to preserve it, a lot of times those older staples, especially with Canadian whites, were very, very cheap and they would rust. So probably to protect the book, they removed the staples. This is just a really great book. It was a really interesting one to see come up for auction, but it's one that you just never see. So a very interesting one. I had to put that as the number 1 on the list because it is a Canadian holy grail for comics, and just to see it in any grade was definitely a pleasure. So this is Triumph Adventure Comics #1, first appearance of Nirvana. So yeah, just a really great book. And yeah, what did you think of this list? What did you think of these no-graded comics selling? I think it's very interesting. I always think of the no grade is better than a low grade is better than no grade, but this is no grade is better than no grade. I don't know how it works, but so yeah, I hope you enjoyed the list. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and bye for now.